People always say we learn from our mistakes, but do we actually? History has a track record of repeating itself many times since our Earth's existence. Need examples? Okay. The economy has crashed multiple times. Abe Lincoln and JFK were both assassinated on a Friday with a fatal bullet wound to the head after being warned not to go out. Numerous school shootings over the past years, including Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012. And you can even include massive globalized extinctions that have happened multiple times in Earth's history. Simple scientific research on this topic concludes that Earth is due for another event of this nature. But we're not here to talk about science. We're here to discuss history. The Plot Against America, a novel by Philip Roth, has history repeating itself if you count the extreme genocide carried out by Hitler, which I do, but also consists of a dystopian future in where the United States has turned into a racist and fascist state, and where fear played a role in manipulating its people. Other contributions went along with creating this dystopian future, but I'll talk about those later in the video. If you haven't read The Plot Against America, spoiler alert for what's about to come. The Plot Against America is a grimacing tale of a what-if scenario involving the United States in our presidential election of 1940. Along with the election, this story also takes place during the Second World War, during which time Charles Lindbergh wins the presidential election against Franklin D. Roosevelt, which sent America into a dystopian future. Lindbergh speaks against the United States intervention in World War II and openly criticizes the Jewish race for trying to force the United States' involvement. He then signs a peace treaty with Nazi Germany, and anti-Semitism begins in America, as the United States people are manipulated into thinking Jews are the problem. While all of this is happening in America, on the other side of the world, Hitler is invading multiple countries in Europe and placing the German army in those locations. As Philip Roth begins to elaborate on the subject of an alternate future, we as readers get to experience everything that's happening through the eyes and ears of a young boy who is ironically named Philip Roth. Philip is the narrator and one of the main characters in the story, and can be best described as a young 9-year-old lad with lots of curiosity living in a great time of confusion. He listens to his family radio and the people around him to try and discover what is truly taking place. During my initial read of The Plot Against America, I found the novel to suggest different facts or truths which can be said to have validity in different regions of reality. Philip Roth, as a narrator of the novel, attempts to unveil these mysteries and begins to process the explanation of the Lindbergh presidency accompanied by his pro-German isolationist stance. Skipping ahead in the story, after making a short speech, Lindbergh's personal plane goes missing. Body hunts turn up no results, and Vice President Wheeler assumes command. The German state radio discloses evidence that Lindbergh's disappearance, as well as the kidnapping of his son, were part of a major Jewish conspiracy to take control of the United States government. This announcement causes further anti-Semitic rioting, with the death of one of the characters in the story being beaten, robbed, and then set on fire by members of the Ku Klux Klan. We eventually find out that all this is a result of Germans having blackmailed Lindbergh by kidnapping his son. After Lindbergh vanishes himself, no one can verify the story. On one hand, it seems to exonerate Lindbergh himself, implying that the president's whole program of anti-Semitism wasn't the result of his actual beliefs, but was forced upon him. I couldn't discover the fact that in Roth's novel, if the country as a whole eagerly follows along with the sanctions set in place as a genuine hatred for Jews, or is simply a manifestation of the herd mentality, people being too scared to think for themselves, so they follow what everyone else is doing, thinking. I believe both points can be accepted, and the emotions experienced by the non-Jews in the story are the results of these two ideas. The fact that a notion can be propagandized into using a particular group as a scapegoat is sickening. Now, I'm not going to spoil the end of the book. You'll have to read it for yourself, but I want to do something really risky. I want to compare the dystopian future imagined by Roth to what is happening today in America. Most people reject the opinion that the United States could possibly become a racist dictatorship, but with all realism, Roth exerts in the story shows a phenomenon like this can actually come to light. The fact that the United States has condemning history involving slavery and the persecution of the Native Americans debunks the notion that it can't happen here. I mean, look at our president today. President Trump can be considered an idol for some people. I mean, I think those people are crazy, but that's just my opinion. Because of his many businesses and celebrity status. Now, in the plot against America, Lindbergh was also labeled as such. Americans regarded Lindbergh as a hero, idol, and leader because of his solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean. Because his authority is on such a high plane, the United States population were willing to follow him no matter how irrational his policies may sound. Sound familiar? So how could a superstar demigod like Trump come to power in the first place? By saying exactly what the people want to hear. My second relation with President Trump to Lindbergh is overestimation. An overestimation by a political establishment of its own mastery over the borders of permissible rhetoric. Trump scapegoated Muslims and Mexicans on his way to the White House. In an infamous speech in Des Moines, Iowa, Lindbergh scapegoated the Jewish people, or alternately, the Jewish race, as one of the most important groups who have been pressing this country toward war in Europe. Trump and the Roths Lindbergh share other similarities. In the book, Lindbergh flies across the country in the spirit of St. Louis, the same plane Lindbergh used to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. More advanced airplanes are of course at his disposal, but Lindbergh means to evoke nostalgia. He is greeted in Los Angeles by a crowd numbering in the tens of thousands. He speaks in language that is unadorned and to the point. He is so unpredictable, even to the professionals who have been assigned by the Republican Party to steer the political novice through his first political campaign. During these rallies, Lindbergh reaffirms his aspirations of what he'll do when he becomes president. As FDR's campaign was to consist of remaining in the White House, Lindbergh used carnival antics and planned to address the hazards of the international situation with all the authority at his command, working around the clock, if necessary. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've heard Trump say things like this countless times. Perhaps the most striking similarity between the reality of Trump and the fiction of Roth can be found in the character of Rabbi Leonard Bang Elsdorf, a Southern-born radio sermonizer supportive of Lindbergh. Now, I'm going to read a couple excerpts from the book to validate my point. I am here, the rabbi says, to crush all doubt of the unadulterated loyalty of American Jews to the United States of America. I offer my support to the candidacy of Colonel Lindbergh because the political objectives of my people are identical with his. America is our beloved homeland. America is our only home. What the hell did he do that for? Roth's father asks. Does he think that one single Jew is now going to go out and vote for this anti-Semite because of that stupid lying speech? Has he completely lost his mind? What does this man think he's doing? Koshering Lindbergh, replies Roth's fictional cousin Alvin. He's up there talking to the Goyim. Goyim meaning a non-Jew. He's giving the Goyim all over the country his personal rabbi's permission to vote for Lindy on election day. Transitioning back to my point, so too did Trump's campaign attempt to appeal to black voters, an outreach that was really about reassuring white voters on the fence about supporting a man who speaks of minorities like a jackass watching Fox News from a bar stool. Trump's support among Republicans fell into depressive valleys, but by November, they voted like Republicans. I believe these rationalizations clarify the relationship between President Trump and Charles Lindbergh. I didn't even state the obvious one of the Germans meddling with the United States election, like the Russians did with our most recent election. As we are still investigating the matter, I think it's crystal clear that the Russians played some part in the situation. So do you think America will learn from the world's past history and fictional dystopian realities? Or did Philip Roth just predict something that would end up happening a decade later? Either way, I believe this novel holds a heavy truth. A truth that this can happen anywhere in the world, and is also accompanied by a caution for the future of mankind. My name is Quentin Williams, and thanks for watching. Just for a disclaimer, this are my own thoughts and ideas and opinions. If you have your own ideas, share with me in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation about what's going on in today's world. If you have any suggestions, please let me know as well. Please like the video and comment below.